Hi, are you the type of consumer who generally complains about products from corporations, yet continues to still buy from them? If you are, please touch subscribe. Okay, that's the video, bye. I've been wanting to talk about this subject for a while. At first, whenever I see toxic behavior in fandoms I'm part of, I would just roll my eyes and just move on. There is usually no need for me to make statements because there are plenty of reasonably sounded people who already have done that, and they've gathered a large crowd to help viewers to understand the situation and coherently explain why the argument from the other side is wrong. This is a bit different for me though, because if there is one thing I cannot stand when it relates to the toxicity of the internet, it is when they are based off of subjects that relates to me. In this case, they're toys. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that being a toy designer is my dream job. Doesn't matter if I work at the big name brand like Hasbro or Lego, as long as I have the chance to use the skills I have as a product designer to create products for the future, that is enough to satisfy me. Now, I graduated from both RIT and FIT, majoring in both industrial design and toy design. And as for my experience, I had the privilege to intern at Hasbro, to work on brands such as Power Rangers Dino Fury, Ghostbusters, and Star Wars, most importantly, The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian. Currently, I am working as an industrial designer at East Point Sports to help create new outdoor and indoor games idea and other toy products. During my journey as a toy designer, I was able to learn so much about the industry that I didn't know about. Any thoughts and speculation I had were later clarified, and I get to see the perspective behind the scenes more that aren't common knowledge for your average consumer. Now, this makes sense to me because the toy industry overall is very secretive. You would ask questions to a designer working at a company about future products, and they would most likely keep their mouth shut. Toy Fair is a convention that's not for the public, but for toy companies to showcase ideas in secret away from competitors and only open their booth to buyers and sellers. This industry is really tight, and also surprisingly small for the designers. So with a lack of word going around for the public to know about, it is easy to form opinions based off of very limited information unless they're leaked. And yes, I do mean small because most of the toy designers that I've talked to have heard of FIT or have actually graduated from FIT. A lot of toy designers really do know each other in this industry. I remember the time before 2015, I used to be the guy who would complain about, oh, how dare Lego cannot make this character accurate on a minifigure? Why is Loki's outfit in dark gray and not black? Why does Black Widow have such long hair? What made Lego think this Hawkeye head and hair was the right choice? Damn, what are they doing to my boy Groot? And you know who was the number one person in our community who perpetrate these thoughts in our minds as viewers? It was Ross, Michael MGF. Look at his early videos before 2015 and see how he nitpicks each minifigure and complains about their accuracy.
The head is what I want to talk about because we've seen in the trailers that the Ultron, officers and soldiers, they don't exactly have heads like this. I understand why Lego made Drax gray. If you look at the trailers, you look at some promotional artwork, yeah, he does look kind of gray. But Drax was always green in the comics, and he does have a greenish tint to his skin in the films. So great job overall. I mean, only one minor problem with Nebula that really doesn't take away too much from the entire minifigure, and that problem is the fact that she's more of a sand blue or maybe a medium blue. I mean, a lot of you guys disagreed with what I had to say on the analysis video, so I assume a lot of you guys are going to disagree with what I have to say in this review of the actual set, in the fact that this is honestly really disappointing to me.
Now, why 2015, you may ask? That seems like a really specific date. Well, because Brick Fair 2015 happened and we had a very special guest coming in. It was Marcos Besa, who is currently a senior designer at the Lego Group. Also, I managed to connect with him on LinkedIn. And he left me on red. Besa is known for his contribution with the LEGO Marvel superhero sets that you can take a look at his portfolio for yourself. When he showed up at Brick Fair, Ross and I, along with many of our other friends, started asking him questions. I mostly asked him questions about the design process in the industry because I was going to attend RIT at the time as a freshman. So by talking to a LEGO designer, I would know beforehand and use it for my studies. Ross had the same idea but was more into asking why certain LEGO sets look the way they do, and why certain characters don't tend to match up with the final movie. And behold, we got our answer. Besa explained when they design licensed set, the design process would take nearly over a year or two to conceptualize and to make into a final product. I can tell that from experience because when I was working at Hasbro, most of the stuff I was working on won't be released until a year or two. And the stuff I'm working at right now on this day, by the time I'm recording this video, my company, we are developing toys for 2023. And we just started 2022. During this design process, the movie is being made and edited, so all the designers had to go off from our concept arts and a rough draft of the script. If you know anything in the Hollywood industry or any industry for that matter, it's that things change a lot. So if a certain LEGO Marvel set does not match with the plot of the movie, they based it off of limited concept arts that does not reflect the final look of the film. After knowing that information, I began to realize a shift in Ross's criticism towards LEGO minifigures in future reviews. He still nitpicks in those videos for sure, but the wording and how he goes about it is drastically different. No longer he would complain about a minifigure and ask how come LEGO even approves of this. He would instead say that the minifigures are not accurate, but it's not entirely LEGO's fault. With that knowledge in mind, I began to see the information Besa gave us about the sets slowly becoming common knowledge in our community because people like Ross were able to clear that misinformation. That is the reason why I was inspired to make this video. I believe there is a problem with the toy community in general. Nowadays, we have to put up with people in comics sharing toxic behavior over plastic products for kids, and we would have big figureheads in our community spreading negative mindsets. Just like what I observed with the whole minifigure situation in 2015, I believe if there is someone who does have the knowledge of the toy industry and has a platform to talk about it, people who have such negative emotion can listen and hopefully have their minds change, or at least expand their critical thinking to reevaluate their opinions. I want to be the person who can carefully critique these behaviors in the community. Who are these types of people? Why do they feel this way? And how can we get rid of them? I want to point out that I'm not trying to be a know-it-all and to flex my knowledge of the industry to invalidate your feelings. I totally understand the frustration people have when they couldn't be patient for their 176th Vintage Collection series announcement after Hasbro wanted to promote a literal kids line for a day. Actually, I don't understand. You people actually need help.
Part 1. Determining the target market and why you are not the only one.
If there is one common fact everyone should know by now, is that corporations' #1 job is to make money. Regardless how you feel about the capitalist system that is fundamentally the goal, I will specifically be talking about the toy industry for this video. In the toy industry, the primary target market is always going to be kids, and the people that are trying to reach out to buy their products are the parents. If we take the Avengers 2012 LEGO sets for example, we can see how each of the main Avengers is separated into different sets. The reason why we don't have a single set with all our main heroes is that, well, if we remember the common fact, this decision is so that a kid wants all their favorite heroes together, and the parents will have to spend nearly $200 to get the entire wave. Wait, Yale, we already know that. That's simple business strategy. Literally everyone in the toy community who buys and collects things know this strategy. Oh good, I just want to make sure because there's a lot of people who don't understand that surprisingly, and we will get to it. Now that we have gone over that example, we can see how the toy industry can milk out so much money from their consumer in a demographic. How do they make more then? By doing the same thing to different demographics. That is why corporations nowadays jump into diversifying their products to attract different people into their brand. This explains why every company you see takes part in Pride Month, and we'll definitely be talking about that, and make consumer goods for the different target audience to make more money. For example, Hasbro released the Vintage Collection and the Black Series, so anyone, whether you're a kid or an adult, can collect these figures based off your favorite property. A kid can play with them as kids would, and an adult can simply display them on their shelf, showcasing their love for Star Wars. I literally have a shelf of Black Series figures, and the shelf is designed as a Death Star. It was custom made and it was given to me by my girlfriend's parents, which was really kind of them. I've been collecting this, guys, and so I know what the intention was for this series. Hasbro is bringing back nostalgia by releasing studio series to provide Bayformer fans highly accurate representations of their characters. These were clearly made for Bayverse fans who loved them as a kid and are grown-ups now. I watched the first Transformers movie when I was in elementary school, and seeing them as screen-accurate figures as an adult just brings a joy to my heart. Look at my shelf, look at it. Hasbro, your plan's working! I mean, they even use the packaging to be display pieces, so you know they're selling this with adult collectors in mind. Okay, again, Yale, what you're saying is already a known fact. You don't need a toy degree to understand this common knowledge. Yes, it makes sense that toy companies appeal to different groups of people. What is even the point? Well, you're correct. This is common knowledge. Of course, toy companies appeal to a broader group of people and make certain products that attract a group of people than another. But some people just don't get that and they're really loud about their negativity. It's like this, we all know the earth is round and there's no point in debating it because we have facts and logic. But then there's a group of people who just don't believe it. And I think it's best to show you what these people think and why they are obviously wrong. Again, as much as common knowledge is that toxicity is bad, nobody is really coming forward to say enough is enough. So recently, Hasbro released their new line of Mission Fleet. Mission Fleet is a new line that the Star Wars team came up with to bring in kids who love the idea of action figures and incorporating them with vehicles. Think of it as like a Black Series or the Vintage Collection, but made for kids. I had the opportunity to work on this line, and a few months ago, Hasbro released their new line of Mission Fleet figures, most of which that I've done deco spec on them. The figures I am most proud of are the Bad Batch. This is very special to me because I get to learn the behind the scenes of the show. I knew the Bad Batch were getting their own spin-off way before it was announced, and I knew Crosshair was going to defect for the Empire and he was going to get a new look. When they released on Instagram's page that shares Star Wars toy content, the responses were... Overall, the responses are mixed. You may be thinking, well, Yale, these people could be giving good faith criticism and probably care a lot about this toy line and simply want it to succeed, right? I wish that was so. Overall, the best way to sum the toxic behavior in the comment section is that these people were not the target audience. This is why I brought up the point to the toxic fanbase, is that you are not the target market.
How dare Hasbro for wanting to focus a day to promote toy products that aren't made for me, instead of giving us the 100th update on the future Vintage Collection and Black Series that I want. Blasphemy!
Literally, people are complaining how Hasbro seems to be forgetting that the Black Series and Vintage Collection fanbase, just because Hasbro just took one day to promote a kid's toy line, a literal kid's toy line. This meme pretty much summarized these types of fans. And I wanted to point out that Hasbro was going to release more Vintage Collection news that same week, but these people just simply cannot wait a day or two and want to go apeshit on a toy line that wasn't even supposed to be for them. Literally a day later, Hasbro released their new Vintage Collection line that reveals Mandalorian Bo-Katan, Mithril, Queel, and a Hoth Rebel Trooper, and a week later, they released a 4-pack Vintage Collection set featuring well-known troopers. And let us not talk about the abundance of Black Series that were released during that week up till today. These people are just entitled and man babies, period. Hasbro never forgot about you, okay? You are their consumer in their giant umbrella of brands. Of course they're not gonna forget you. You give them money. You're just a number on their Excel sheet. They released updates on the Vintage Collection all the time. Before the Mission Fleet reveal, they literally showed Maul and Ahsoka and people were loving it. Does it really matter in the end if some characters are released as different toy products first before the toy line you are most excited for does? It really doesn't, because at the end of the day, you have the Bad Batch slowly releasing one by one as Black Series. And just recently, we got news of Echo and Omega, few months after the Mission Fleet Echo was revealed in a character pack. So it is only a matter of time before they'll maybe get a Vintage Collection as well. Now, I don't want to confirm that we are getting Bad Batch Vintage Collection series, by the way, by the time I'm recording this. This is just purely based on my speculations and thoughts, so I'm not trying to leak anything here. I just think it makes sense business-wise for Hasbro to eventually make all these characters in the popular toy line in some form. I am saying this because in my experience and in my studies, this is purely common knowledge in all designers. Right here, I have the Mission Fleet Hunter and I have the Bad Batch Hunter. Obviously, when you look at these two figures, the Mission Fleet Hunter doesn't have much articulation. He only has like 5 to 7-ish points of articulation, not even knee joint or elbow joint, compared to the Hunter who has full range of articulation. More articulation means more parts means more money, and because this thing is bigger, it means more money. But this guy is small, easily assembled, and easily manufactured, and also doesn't require much deco. Because of that, this will most likely get in shelves first before the Bad Batch Hunter. The Star Wars team has a lot on their plate. Not only they are focusing on multiple toy lines for every single demographic in Star Wars, but they also have a lot of different Star Wars content to go through. All you really have to do is be patient, my god. Besides the type of people literally complaining about not getting toys that they want despite getting plenty so far, the other type of toxic behavior I see in toy collectors is when they give out anecdotal evidence, such as,
are these really selling well? I don't see kids buying this stuff. I see them sitting on shelves for days at my store.
Now, when you're in a debate and you are presenting an argument, the last thing you want to do is give anecdotal evidence. Because when you do, it gives the impression of cognitive bias and to reach to a conclusion that you already had at the start. Plus, who's to say that you are simply telling the truth as well? People who simply do not like the Mission Fleet can simply say, I never see them selling anywhere, so this line overall is actually not doing well in sales. But in reality, they only looked at their local toy store and did not give out actual data to determine the possibility if they sell well in other parts of the world. If this line is pretty much a peg warmer at the local Walmart in the middle of Utah, but sold out in Manhattan, that doesn't mean the line is a failure. Now, this is hard for me because, as I said, the toy industry is very secretive. Unlike movies, when you can easily research how much money a movie made, you can't find stats on specific toy lines to easily determine how well they are doing. You would get like vague numbers here and there, but overall it really doesn't mean much. So as much as I would love to bring up a graph that showcase the success of different Star Wars toy lines at Hasbro, I simply can't. And if I know such data, I'm probably not allowed to tell you anyway, because that is not my department. So all we can do is simply make inference based off of one fact. Is this line continuing or not? Based on my experience at Hasbro, Lucasfilm approved of many different Mission Fleet concepts. The goal was to create different toys from each different saga, and when I came on board, and when I came over to help speed up the design process, we were focused on prequel era and The Mandalorian, which makes sense because during that time, Clone Wars Season 7 was recent, and Bad Batch and Mandalorian Season 2 were around the corner. Mission Fleet already existed by the time I came to help out, and it seems like based off the overview my manager gave me to explain the line, it doesn't look like they're planning to stop either. So when you hear complaints about certain toy lines, you need to think about who are these made for and if the people complaining about them fit in the target demographic to begin with. Again, these products are made for kids and they are made in a way to appeal to them. Parents are going to be the ones buying them in the end. So when you read comments who have such major problems with the line, are they A, the kid, B, the parent, or C, neither? It is interesting because people defending this line are the parents, and they don't really talk about how they feel about the figures themselves. They explain how their kids feel. So yeah, I just think that's interesting. It's almost as if something's not made for you, is it even worth your criticism? And even if the line isn't doing so well, why does that matter to you? You are never going to buy them anyway because you are not the person the designers were targeting. Why take your time to go out of your way to express how you feel about a corporation does not pay any attention to you on products that were not supposed to be made for you? I think everyone gets it. Let's move on.
Continue in part 2.